The cool glass of the towering Vertex Technologies building reflects the gray San Francisco morning as I step through its revolving doors, as I have every weekday for the past 5 years. Today, though, the sterile clink of my ID badge at the security desk seems louder, more ominous. I barely nod at the guard, my mind preoccupied with the upcoming product launch, until a firm hand on my shoulder stops me. "Mr. Frank, please come with us," says the security officer, his face expressionless. Confusion tightens my chest. "Is there a problem?" I ask, my voice steady despite the sudden spike in my heartbeat. "Just follow us, please," he insists without elaboration, leading me towards the elevator instead of the stairs leading to my office on the 8th floor. My pulse quickens with each ding of the elevator ascending. This isn't normal. The elevator doors slide open with a soft chime on the 15th floor, a floor I've never had reason to visit. The plush carpeting and hushed tones are a stark contrast to the utilitarian design of the engineering floors. Mr. Thomas, the 40-year-old owner of Vertex, stands at the end of the hall, his office door wide open. "Frank, come in," he beckons, his voice calm but cold. I comply, each step heavier than the last. The office is expansive, the walls lined with accolades and prototypes of Vertex's past successes. Mr. Thomas gestures to a seat across from his desk, where Mr. Herbert, 25, already sits, a manila folder in front of him, his eyes avoiding mine. "Frank, there has been a serious issue," Mr. Thomas starts, his fingers steepled, eyes locked on mine. $20 million have been transferred from the company's account to what appears to be your personal account. My stomach drops. "That's impossible." "I haven't done anything like that," I respond, my voice a mix of disbelief and indignation. "We have evidence," Frank, Herbert interjects, sliding the folder across the desk towards me. His voice is flat, almost rehearsed. "Transactions, timestamps, account numbers. It's all there. The documents look legitimate, dates, numbers, my name plastered across transaction histories. But it's all wrong. I've been set up." Panic begins to claw at my composure, but I push it down. "I need to think, to fight this. I didn't do this," I say firmly, meeting Mr. Thomas's gaze. "You know me. I've worked here for years, dedicated my life to this company. Why would I jeopardize everything now?" Mr. Thomas sighs, a sound that fills the room with a weight heavier than San Francisco fog. "I want to believe you, Frank, but the evidence is substantial. We need to suspend you, effective immediately, pending a full investigation." The word suspend echoes in my head. My career, my reputation, my entire future hangs in the balance, suspended over an abyss I didn't even know was there when I walked in this morning. I stand, my chair scraping back sharply. "I will clear my name," I state, not just a promise to them but a vow to myself. As I walk out, the office feels colder than the fog outside, each step away from my life as I know it a step into an uncertain and treacherous new reality. The door to my apartment slams shut behind me with a hollow thud, echoing through the small, sparsely decorated space I've called home for the past 3 years. It's a far cry from the imposing glass and steel of Vertex Technologies, yet right now, it feels just as cold and unwelcoming. My hands shake as I drop my keys on the counter, the metallic clink far too loud in the silence that envelopes me. I slump down onto the couch, the weight of the morning's accusations pressing down on me like the dense, unyielding fog outside my window. The documents, the numbers, my name next to transactions I never made, all of it spins in my head, a carousel of betrayal and disbelief. My phone buzzes relentlessly on the coffee table. Reporters, no doubt, already catching wind of the scandal. I ignore them, my mind racing. Who would do this to me? Why? My thoughts are chaotic, a tangled mess of fear and anger. It's only when my phone lights up with Clara's name that I reach for it. Clara, with her keen sense of justice and unwavering loyalty, might be my only ally in this. "Frank?" Her voice is a lifeline in the storm. "Clara," I start, my voice cracking slightly, "they're saying I stole $20 million from Vertex. They think I'm a thief." There's a pause, a breath where I hear her taking the weight of my words. I know you didn't do it, Frank. I know you, she says firmly, and even though it's through the phone, her conviction feels like a hand squeezing mine, grounding me. I don't even know where to start, Clara. They have evidence. It looks bad. We'll figure this out, she asserts. I'm going to help you. Let's meet tomorrow. There must be something, some mistake or something they overlooked. Hope, faint and flickering, begins to take root. But there's still a mountain to climb. Thank you, Clara. I need all the help I can get. We make plans to dig into the evidence together, to comb through everything until we find the truth. After hanging up, I feel a sliver of determination stir amidst the fear. But there's someone else I need to talk to, my father, Peter. Retired but once a shrewd attorney, he'd know what steps to take, how to navigate the labyrinth of legal battles ahead. His number rings, and when he answers, his voice is a balm to the chaos of the day. Son, tell me everything, he says, his words deliberate, calming. I explain, my voice steadying as I lay out the events of the morning. He listens, interjects with the occasional question, and when I'm done, he takes a moment before responding. Frank, this is serious, but you're not in this alone, he states, his tone resolute. First, you need a lawyer, someone with corporate law experience. Tomorrow, I'll help you find the best. For now, keep a low profile. Don't talk to the media, don't discuss this with anyone else. Trust Clara, and trust me. His advice anchors me, gives me a plan amidst the turmoil. Thanks, Dad. I'll do exactly that. After we hang up, the apartment feels less oppressive, less like a prison of my own fears. I stand up, my resolve hardening. They might think they can break me, scare me into submission, but I will clear my name, no matter what it takes. That night, as the city buzzes below and the darkness deepens, I sit at my window, staring out at the lights that refuse to be smothered by the encroaching fog. Like those lights, I too refuse to be extinguished. Tomorrow, the fight to prove my innocence begins. The next morning dawns clear, a rare gift from the often fog-shrouded city of San Francisco. The sharp, clean sunlight seems at odds with the turmoil churning inside me as I prepare for the day, a day unlike any other in my life, dedicated not to advancing technology but to clearing my name. Clara and I agree to meet at a small, discreet cafe tucked away on a quieter street, far from the looming glass facade of Vertex Technologies and the prying eyes that come with it. She arrives first, securing a secluded table at the back. As I approach, I see her poring over a laptop, her brow furrowed in concentration. She looks up as I sit down, her eyes flashing a mix of concern and determination. We have a lot to cover, she starts without preamble, sliding a USB drive across the table. I've pulled all the financial reports and access logs from the last 3 months. We need to look for any anomalies, any trace of who might have framed you. Her preparedness brings me a brief, grateful smile. Thanks, Clara. Let's dive in. For hours, we sift through digital mountains of data, transaction records, login times, network access points. It's tedious and draining, but with each file, each line of code, I feel the sharp focus that always served me well in my career at Vertex rekindling within me. Around noon, Clara pauses, leaning back with a sigh. I need a break, Frank. This is like looking for a needle in a haystack. I nod, equally overwhelmed. Let's step out for some air. Outside, the fresh breeze off the bay revives us, and we walk in silence for a few minutes. We'll find something, I finally say, more to convince myself than her. We will, she agrees, squeezing my arm briefly. Returning to our data dive, Clara clicks through another series of access logs when suddenly she stiffens. Wait, look at this, she says, zooming in on a log entry. The screen shows an administrative override performed late at night, 2 days before the fraudulent transaction. Who has admin access? I ask, peering over her shoulder. Besides you, me, and Herbert, only a couple of IT guys who wouldn't know how to exploit it, she replies, her voice tinged with suspicion. Can you trace the login location? My voice is hopeful, the first spark of a potential breakthrough fanning the flames of my determination. It'll take some time, but yes, I can get into the network and check the IP addresses, she says, already typing rapidly. As she works, my phone rings. It's Peter. Frank, how's it going? We might be onto something, Dad. I explain about the admin access and Clara's current efforts. Good. Remember, keep everything documented. Whatever you find could be crucial in court. Will do, I confirm, feeling the weight of his advice. Hours slip by, and as the afternoon wanes, Clara lets out a triumphant, got it. The IP address linked to the suspicious login doesn't trace back to any of our usual locations. It's external, and oddly, it's one frequently used by Herbert. He was sloppy, Clara murmurs, her eyes wide with the implications. Or arrogant enough to think he'd get away with it, I add, a cold anger settling in my chest. With this new lead, our path is clearer. We need to confront Herbert, but carefully, strategically. Armed with proof, perhaps we can pressure him into a confession, or at least expose his deceit. Tomorrow, I say decisively. We confront Herbert tomorrow. Clara nods, her face set in a resolute expression. We'll get your life back, Frank. As the sun sets, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold, I feel the first real hope since this nightmare began. Tonight, I'll sleep with a plan, ready to face whatever comes with the dawn. The city's nocturnal pulse beats a steady rhythm as I wait outside the Vertex Technologies building, where the shadows lengthen and deepen into the corners of the streets. It's past midnight, and the towering office looms like a sentinel above, its windows dark except for one on the 15th floor. That's where I'll find my answers tonight. Clara had called earlier, her voice tense yet determined. I'm going in to get more evidence. Wait for my signal before you come up. I had agreed reluctantly, knowing the risk she was taking. Now, hidden in the shadows, I watch the quiet street, every nerve on edge. My phone vibrates softly, Clara's text lighting up the screen. It's clear. Come now. I slip through the service entrance, a path less monitored, my familiarity with the building's layout guiding me in the dark. My footsteps are silent, my breath controlled, as I make my way to the 15th floor, to Herbert's office. The door is ajar when I arrive, Clara already inside, her figure bent over Herbert's desk, illuminated by the soft glow of her laptop screen. She doesn't look up as I enter, completely absorbed in her task. I've accessed his emails, she whispers without preamble, pointing at the screen. Look at this. I lean in, my eyes scanning the highlighted text, an email from Herbert to an unknown recipient, discussing details of the fraudulent transaction. The tone is casual, confident, as if he's done this many times before. How can we use this? I ask, my voice low. We'll need more than just this email. We need something that ties him directly to the action, Clara responds, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she searches for further proof. As she works, I peruse the rest of Herbert's desk, opening drawers slowly to avoid any noise. In the bottom drawer, hidden beneath a stack of old financial reports, I find a burner phone. My pulse quickens as I flip through the messages, all coded, but clearly referencing the $20 million transaction. Clara, found something else, I say, handing her the phone. She reads through the messages, her eyes widening. This is it, Frank. With this, we can prove he was orchestrating everything. Just then, the faint sound of footsteps echoes in the hallway outside. Panic flares briefly in Clara's eyes as she looks at me. Hide. We extinguish the lights and press ourselves into the shadowed corner of the office, barely breathing. The footsteps grow louder, then stop right outside the door. The handle turns slowly. Through the crack in the door, a sliver of light from the hallway spills in, accompanied by a shadow that pauses, lingering. My heart hammers against my ribs, each beat a loud drum in the silent tension of the room. After what feels like an eternity, the shadow moves away, the footsteps receding down the hall. We wait, ensuring silence has reclaimed the floor, before Clara speaks. That was close. Too close. We should get out of here with what we have. We pack up quickly, taking the burner phone and making sure no trace of our access remains on Herbert's computer. Slipping out of the office and down the stairs, the weight of the evidence in our possession feels both exhilarating and terrifying. Outside, the cool night air hits my face, a stark contrast to the stifling tension of the office. Clara looks at me, a mix of fear and triumph in her eyes. "We did it, Frank." "Yes, we did," I reply, a smile breaking through the stress of the night. "Let's go show this to my dad and plan our next move." As we walk away from Vertex, the city around us still cloaked in its nocturnal shroud, I feel a semblance of power returning to me. For the first time since this nightmare began, I feel in control of my destiny. We have what we need to fight back, to clear my name, and perhaps even more importantly, to restore the balance that had been so violently upended. The morning light filters softly through the blinds of a small conference room in a nondescript building several blocks from Vertex Technologies. The table is strewn with the damning evidence Clara and I had gathered, Herbert's emails, the burner phone, and a timeline of events meticulously documented. My father, Peter, sits across from us, his expression grave but his eyes sharp with legal acumen. "Are you ready for this?" Peter asks, glancing between Clara and me. His voice is steady, grounding. "Yes," I reply, my determination firm. "It's time Herbert answers for what he's done." Clara nods, her laptop open in front of her, displaying the evidence in a clear, organized presentation. "Let's go over the plan one more time," she suggests. We confront Herbert with the evidence we've gathered. We record his reaction. Hopefully, he confesses. I outline the strategy, feeling the weight of the moment upon us. Peter interjects with a note of caution. "Remember, we need to stay calm and collected, no matter what his response is. This isn't just about getting a confession, it's about revealing the truth with as much control over the situation as we can maintain." With the plan set, we leave the safety of our makeshift headquarters, heading toward Vertex Technologies. The familiar streets now carry a different weight, each step bringing us closer to a confrontation that feels both inevitable and terrifying. As we enter the building, the receptionist gives us a curious look but says nothing. Herbert's office is on the 15th floor, the same floor that just last night seemed like a labyrinth of secrets and shadows. Today, it feels like a stage set for a final showdown. We knock on Herbert's office door. "Come in," comes his voice, smooth and unsuspecting. Herbert sits at his desk, looking up with a practiced smile that fades as soon as he sees the seriousness of our expressions. "Frank, Clara, and Mr. Wilson. To what do I owe this unexpected visit?" "We know about the $20 million, Herbert," I begin, my voice calm but carrying an edge of accusation. "And we have proof." Herbert's smile falters, then reforms. "I'm not sure what you mean, Frank." Clara steps forward, opening her laptop. "Let's start with the emails you sent from this address," she says as she points to the screen where an email chain is displayed. Herbert's eyes flick to the screen, then back to us. He laughs, a short, hollow sound. "This is ridiculous. You think this proves anything?" "It's just the beginning," I reply. I pull out the burner phone, placing it on his desk. "And then there's this. Want to explain why you were using a burner phone to coordinate the transfer?" For a moment, Herbert is silent, his facade cracking. His gaze shifts rapidly between the phone and us, calculating his next move. We also traced the IP address used to access the funds. "It leads back to a location frequently used by you," Clara adds, her tone clinical. Herbert leans back in his chair, the arrogance draining from his face. His eyes dart around the room, as if looking for an exit or a way out of his predicament. Finally, he speaks. "You can't prove anything. These could be fabricated." Peter steps forward now, his presence commanding. "Not only can we prove it, but we're also prepared to take this evidence to the authorities and the board. But we thought we'd offer you a chance to explain yourself first." The silence that follows is thick, charged with tension and the gravity of Herbert's impending decision. Then, slowly, Herbert begins to speak, his voice a mixture of defiance and resignation. "You wouldn't understand. I needed that position. I needed to make a move. It wasn't supposed to go this far. As he confesses, the pieces of the puzzle fall painfully into place. The room feels colder, the reality of betrayal and greed settling like dust after a storm. We understand more than you think, I say quietly. And we gave you more credit than you deserved. With Herbert's confession recorded, we leave his office, the weight of the ordeal momentarily lifted, replaced by the weight of justice soon to be served. The morning air feels different today, charged with a mixture of relief and anticipation. The sun casts a golden hue over the city, a stark contrast to the somber atmosphere inside Mr. Thomas's expansive office at Vertex Technologies. Today, I am not just a former employee walking back through these doors, I am a man on the brink of clearing his tarnished name. Clara and I sit across from Mr. Thomas, who looks noticeably weary, the burden of the company's scandal weighing heavily on his shoulders. Beside him, his lawyer shuffles papers, a silent testament to the gravity of the situation. Mr. Thomas, we have something you need to see, I begin, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside me. Clara opens her laptop, the screen displaying the evidence of Herbert's betrayal, the emails, the burner phone records, and the damning confession. As the reality of the situation unfolds before him, Mr. Thomas's expression shifts from skepticism to shock, and finally, to a resigned understanding. I had no idea, he murmurs, his voice trailing off, his eyes not meeting mine. Clara continues, detailing every piece of evidence with precision. We even have a recording of Herbert's confession, she adds, her tone firm yet empathetic. She understands the betrayal Mr. Thomas feels, perhaps even more than I do. The lawyer leans in, whispering something to Mr. Thomas, who nods slowly. After a long moment of silence, he clears his throat. Frank, I owe you an apology. To think that someone under my employ could do this, and to you. I'm deeply sorry for what you've been through. His words, sincere and heavy with regret, offer a balm to my bruised integrity. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. All I ever wanted was to clear my name. Mr. Thomas nods solemnly. And so you shall. Not only will we reinstate you immediately, but I will personally ensure that the board and our employees are made aware of your innocence and Herbert's guilt. He pauses, looking between Clara and me. And what about Herbert? He asks, a hint of steel in his tone. We've handed over the evidence to the authorities. They'll take it from here, I respond, the finality in my voice mirroring the closure I feel within. Mr. Thomas leans back, pinching the bridge of his nose. Right. Well, there's much to be done to restore trust and integrity here at Vertex. I hope, Frank, that you'll help us rebuild. I will, Mr. Thomas. It's time to move forward, I say, a sense of purpose anchoring my words. As we stand to leave, Mr. Thomas extends his hand to me, a gesture rich with meaning. The handshake is firm, the seal on a chapter that is closing, and the beginning of another that is yet to be written. Outside his office, Clara links her arm with mine, a silent vow of unity. You did it, Frank. We did it, I correct her, squeezing her hand gently. Thank you, for everything. She smiles, a radiant expression that speaks of battles fought and won. Always. As we walk through the corridors of Vertex, past curious eyes and whispered speculations, there is a lightness in my step, a stark contrast to the heavy footsteps that echoed through these halls when I was escorted out. The whispers don't bother me, they're just the murmurs of a world adjusting to a new truth, a truth that Clara and I fought hard to uncover. In the days that follow, Mr. Thomas keeps his promise. My reinstatement is public and accompanied by a full exoneration. Herbert's actions are laid bare for all to see, his deception unraveling the career he'd so ruthlessly tried to build at my expense. As for me, I return to my role not just as a manager but as a man vindicated, ready to face new challenges with a clear name and a renewed spirit. The journey through accusation and back has changed me, not just in how others see me, but in how I see myself and the world around me. I am more cautious, yes, but also more compassionate, understanding more than ever the fragile nature of trust and the strength required to rebuild it. The sun sets over the city skyline, casting a warm glow over the streets as I step out of the Vertex Technologies building for the first time since my exoneration. The weight of the day's events still lingers, but tonight, it feels different. Tonight, it feels like the beginning of something new. Clara waits for me at the bottom of the steps, her smile radiant against the fading light. "Ready to celebrate?" she asks, her eyes shining with excitement. I nod, a sense of gratitude swelling within me. Absolutely. Together, we walk through the bustling streets, the sounds of the city wrapping around us like a comforting embrace. The air is alive with possibility, each step a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. We arrive at a quaint bistro tucked away in a quiet corner of the city, a place Clara had discovered during our darkest days, a haven where we could escape the chaos and find solace in each other's company. The interior is warm and inviting, the soft glow of candlelight casting shadows on the walls. We settle into a cozy corner booth, the weight of the day's events momentarily forgotten in the warmth of the moment. Clara raises her glass, a sparkling champagne flute reflecting the flickering candlelight. "To new beginnings," she says, her voice tinged with optimism. "To new beginnings," I echo, clinking my glass against hers. As we toast to the future, I can't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the journey that brought me here, the trials and tribulations, the moments of despair and doubt, all leading to this moment of triumph. Over dinner, we reminisce about the challenges we faced, the obstacles we overcame, and the bonds we forged along the way. Clara's laughter is infectious, her presence a beacon of light in the darkness. As the evening draws to a close, we step out into the cool night air, the city alive with possibility. The streets are quiet now, the chaos of the day giving way to a sense of calm. As we walk hand in hand through the empty streets, I can't help but feel a sense of excitement for the future, a future filled with endless possibilities, new adventures, and the promise of a life well lived. With Clara by my side, I know that whatever challenges may come, we'll face them together, with courage, resilience, and unwavering determination. And as we disappear into the night, the city lights twinkling overhead, I can't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the journey that brought me here, a journey that led to this moment of peace, contentment, and the promise of a new beginning.